The ancient past of the island is left very mysterious.
How long have
Every question I answer will simply lead to another question.
One vague thing that I take as canon is this. Mother was a smoke monster. In Pat's videos I didn't say that, but as much was implied by the showrunners in commentary.
A few words about Mother again here. One of the very interesting theories, which we are not going to confirm or deny here in this commentary, but is worth mentioning, is the idea that Mother is the smoke monster at this point in the game, because later we will see that apparently she has laid waste to the entire village.
Right.
And what an interesting theory that is, because one of the questions that keeps arising is, if Jacob's smoke monster was his brother, then who was the smoke monster before him?
For starters, Mother knows that being thrown into the source is worse than death.
Would I die?
It'd be worse than dying, Jacob. Much worse.
How does she know this? And who or what is she? History repeats on the island, and Mother is no exception. Whoever this woman was, she died by passing through the source, the same as the man in black, and then someone on the pre-Roman island projected her memory onto the monster. This previous monster was able to absorb the memories from this woman's body like the man in black monster does, specifically her memory of dying by way of the source. It's likely guilt was a factor in this manifestation, and I think this woman was sacrificed to the source as part of the religion on the island in the pre-Roman era. At some point, it was understood by the ancient people on the island that this was not a resurrection or a transformation, but a projection, and this previous smoke monster, caught imitating, was trapped in the form of Mother, as the next smoke monster would be trapped in the form of first the man in black, and then later John Locke. Consumed in this identity, this monster, like the one after, can't see what it really is, screaming at the world for telling it what it can't do, even though they were right. This monster had the power to make rules like Jacob, and be invulnerable like the man in black monster, combining elements of both. But Mother Monster gave the power to make the rules to Jacob, powers the later monster lacked. An undisclosed amount of time goes by. Mother Monster eventually kills a shipwrecked Claudia, taking her infants with hopes to raise a replacement. The guilt that Mother Monster feels for this killing manifests as the ghost of Claudia, a sort of monster to the monster. As smoky as the subconscious, the deeper well of the self, this ghost of Claudia is maybe even the source itself, the only entity coming from deeper than the monster. The way Claudia appears to the man in black as a child is the same to how Jacob appears to the later monster, because both of these are manifestations of the current monster's guilty conscience. When Mother's killed by the man in black, she's surprised, unable to make herself invulnerable in time, like Smokelock did many times. Dogan communicates to Saeed that surprise is the only way to kill a Smoky, outside turning off the source, of course. Dogan even gives Saeed the same knife that the man in black used to kill Mommy Monster. When both monsters are killed, they both leave a body behind. Jacob, in a rage, kills the man in black by tossing him into the source. This disruption of the source causes it to generate a means of defense, an organ, a flagellum, an immune response, a security system for the island.
It's a security system.
Security system.
So what Jacob's done is make a new smoke monster to replace the one that his brother, the man in black, just killed. The man in black's body washes up. Jacob finds it. He lays it to rest. But there's no scene in this episode where Jacob discovers that he's transformed his brother into the smoke monster. There's no scene in Lost where Jacob learns this, or even says that the monster is his brother.
Goodbye, brother.
He refers to him once as an old friend, and in another scene accepts responsibility for his death.
You call him the monster. But I'm responsible for what happened to him.
And this omission tells us everything we need to know. The man in black himself, the person, only appears in one episode, as is True Self, which is why we never learn his name. In actuality, he's a minor character. He's a plot device. He's a red herring. No answer could be good enough after so many hours of television, so the answer isn't really what it is. The monster was all along the island itself, or rather its most extreme side effect. The source of all the intrigue, arguably the series itself. Typically what you see in series storytelling is that the second act of the series consists of the internal conflicts within the characters and the conflicts between the heroes. And then when you turn to the third act, your ultimate villain is revealed, and it's an external conflict between all the heroes and the ultimate villain. But what Lost is doing through the smoke monster is that this line is completely removed. It's only the knowledge of what the smoke monster is doing that makes it an external conflict, because the smoke monster is just this collective of all the inner conflicts, and it's what was feeding the conflicts between the heroes in past seasons. Lost erased the distinction between this second and third act conflict shift, because it's both at all times. So Locke is the audience self-insert character. He's the only character in the story that wants to know what's going on as badly as everybody else. But he's just being manipulated by a ruthless mechanical mystery box, as we, the audience, are being manipulated by a ruthless mechanical mystery box, which is TV itself, or Lost the show. There's no real answers for us or John Locke to find in the box. It just contains what we project into it. So about what time was Jacob born? About what time is Across the Sea set? Well, if you look at Lostpedia, the artifacts, the clothes, the ancient Latin in Across the Sea date the episode in the classical Roman era, roughly around the time of Christ. This would mean it's more recent than the Egyptian ruins that have carvings indicating a worship of the monster alongside Anubis, which is this Egyptian god. If you Google it and check out Wikipedia, it's a god of mummification and death in the afterlife. The height of Egypt predates the classical Roman era by a good bit, so presence of the Egyptian Senate game coupled with that seals it for me that the Egyptians had come and gone before Jacob was born on the island. The only reason the temple is not in Across the Sea was because the set was probably already torn down. ABC got really stingy in the final season, and I blame the network suits for most of the disappointment that people felt with the final season, because the production value was diminished relative to the previous seasons. The series finale was supposed to have a big epic volcano. We got robbed. Now, the modification to the source cave that reduced the brightness of the light and the amount of water running through it, that was done at Jacob's direction, and this is straight from the showrunners. And it's more plausible considering the limited scale of the build site. This was done to create a failsafe switch for the island, but also to prevent any new smoke monsters from being created if anyone ever else entered the source pool. So flash forward about 800 years after Jacob's birth. Nobody wants to die, so the magic box fulfills that for Jacob and keeps him young, but he's failed to find a replacement. The animalistic nature and repressed human urges in everyone continuously overcomes any of his attempts to build a society on the island. The smoke monster only has to reflect and amplify the dark impulses in all people, finding ways to get the population to wipe itself out time and time again. Part of the reason for this is Jacob's hang-ups and his insistence on giving people free will, because Mother didn't give him free will, but this means that candidates can kill each other, even though the monster can't, because it's just the island. Anyway, after the Black Rock crashes, the monster appears as Isabella, even though her body is not present on the island, because it's Richard's flashbacks and regrets that allow this form to be taken, not the superstitious rules around the dead that the others have that the show spoon feeds us. So I think the butterfly was the monster checking on Richard, and then I think the boar was also the monster knocking the nail out of his hand, because if he had been able to set himself free, then he wouldn't feel any obligation to return the monster's favor when it releases him. Now, this next thing is the most important little detail in Abaterno, but it goes a long way in supporting this theory. When Jacob makes Richard immortal, he asks him what he wants, and Richard says this:
I never want to die. I want to live forever.
That I can do.
And whatever you imagined, whatever you wanted to be in it, when you opened that box, there it would be.
The specific language of the word want goes back to Ben explaining the magic box to John, that it manifests wants, meaning that Jacob is merely granting what Richard desires by way of the island, or the magic box, but Jacob himself does not have the power. It's like Desmond watching over the button. He's just one in a line of people who oversee this phenomenon, but no one can truly fully understand it.
First thing he does, because it's beeping already, he types in the code, he pushes the button, and it stops. What was all that about, I say? Just saving the world, he says. Saving the world. His words, not mine.
Lost is a character study, structured around multiple short stories set in different points in time, but united by a single character. Character writing and character studies live and die by the motivation and desires of its characters. This is what organically drives the story. Lost knows this better than anything else. The fact that this understanding of character storytelling is so intertwined with the real answer to the mysteries, and it's so subliminally hidden in plain sight, and it's so cool, and I just want to scream it from the rooftops. Smash that like and subscribe button in the next 108 minutes or everything's going to blow up.
So we just...